Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here for our update. The loss of life continues. We've lost 4 individuals in the last 24 hours related to COVID-19. All 4 were hospitalized. One was an African-American woman in her 70s. One was a Caucasian woman in her 60s. One was a Caucasian male in his 60s. One was a Caucasian male in his 80s. This brings our community total of folks we've lost in hospitals to 55. Overall, we've lost 79 neighbors in our fight with COVID-19. My thoughts and prayers are with these families, with all of our families, with any family of anyone who's lost anybody in this process. And certainly we grieve together as a community, and I am just very sorry. When we look at testing, we've now administered 18,533 tests. 18,040 tests have been returned. 789 tests were returned since yesterday. Huge numbers of return tests representing proactive testing that we've been doing. There are 1,425 positives now, 31 new cases since yesterday. We'll get into what the breakout of those cases are shortly. And we've had 16,615 negative results. We sent 888 tests from Onondaga County alone since yesterday. Our figure alone exceeds the regional mandate of 775 daily administered tests for restart. We have 493 pending tests. 7.9% of the results we have received are positive. A reminder, this week we will be doing universal testing at the Syracuse Community Health Center site, which has been extremely busy today. That means if you want to get tested for your peace of mind and you have not been able to get tested because you haven't been sick, you can now go to the Syracuse Community Health Center and receive a test. Our first mobile testing location will begin Thursday and Friday in our WIC parking lot at the old No James Market on Gifford Street. We'll be testing folks at the Syracuse Housing Authority and also from the neighborhood there as well. So we're doing proactive testing. Obviously, we're still doing symptomatic testing if you're sick. We're now doing our mobile testing program. We'll be going into specific neighborhoods where we're trying to really hunt for the infection and the virus, and we'll do that. Related to regional testing data, our mandate for testing to reopen as a region is 775 tests administered per day. If there is 30 days in the month, and if there is 31 days in the month, it's actually 750. Our region includes Cayuga, Cortland, Madison, Onondaga, and Oswego counties. The table to my right reflects yesterday's activity, where the test locations produced tests for our total. So for Cayuga County did 108 tests yesterday. Cortland County did 26. Madison 34. Onondaga 878. Oswego 18. Total tests administered yesterday 1,064 tests. Again, 700, I believe 750, 775, depending on what month is your daily total. Certainly we're 35% more in yesterday's total than we would be before. Tomorrow's data will essentially set us up to meet any 7-day average related to restart. We are extremely busy today with proactive testing. So we're very happy. Our regional command team had a call. We're not, the State Department of Health has agreed that they're not going to wait for this data to go to the lab, and then once the lab gets caught up, send it to DOH for it to hit. We will certify the results, and then the state DOH will use that for the 3-day average and the 7-day average. So we are going to be, we're very strongly positioned after yesterday. After today, tomorrow we will share with you the Tuesday data. Today is Tuesday. I don't have it yet. It's still ongoing. And certainly we expect those numbers to be in the thousands again. Related to hospitalizations, We have 54 individuals in the hospital, down 1 from yesterday, 9% of our active cases. 14 are in critical condition. This is up 1 from yesterday. This represents 2% of our active cases. Again, please keep these people in your thoughts and your prayers. These are folks who are having a very hard time right now. Out of the 54 individuals in the hospital, 38 are Caucasian, 11 are African American, 3 are of another race, 2 have not shared their demographic data with us. To date, we have had 176 people released from the hospitals. That's up 5 from yesterday. The reality is, because this virus has infected our community's most vulnerable, we will have people get better from the hospitals each day, and we will have people come into the hospital each day until this process goes through. So we had 5 people released. We had more people coming into the hospital. We've lost neighbors. This virus is deadly, and certainly this information just reflects that. That's why we need to be so vigilant in looking at physical distancing, keeping yourself and your family members safe, and that's how we fight this virus. When you look at the overall stats, we have 1,425 positive cases, up 31 from yesterday. We presently have 600 active cases. This is up 13. 751 people who have recovered. That's up 14. 9 individuals in our positive case are household contacts of previously confirmed cases. Again, this is a scenario where, from a tracing and tracking standpoint, household contacts are not difficult to do because these are folks already in a quarantine. 11 of our new cases are affiliated with senior living facilities. This number is going down a little bit. Hopefully that will be the trend. These are our community's most vulnerable to the virus, so the last 2 days have been better days with senior affiliations. And 11 individuals are related to community spread. So we do 7-day averages on community spread. We're in day 4. For the 4 days, the last 4 days, our community spread number is 13.5. So, solid numbers so far related to community spread. Hopefully we'll keep those up. 1,596 currently in isolation or quarantine. When we look at our caseload, 837 have been female, 588 male, 47 under 19, 233 in their 20s, 176 in their 30s, 187 in their 40s, 221 in their 50s, 195 in their 60s, 157 in their 70s, 137 in their 80s, 72 in their 90s. Breakdown by percentage, 20% are under 30, 32% are under 40, 45% are under 50, 61% are under 60, 39% are over 60 years of age. Municipality, City of Syracuse, 753 total cases, 338 recoveries. Onondaga, 117 total cases, 28 recoveries. Clay, 116 total cases, 81 recoveries. Manly is 63 cases, 49 recoveries. DeWitt, 62 cases, 44 recoveries. Salina, 60 cases, 40 recoveries. Cicero, 53 cases, 31 recoveries. Gaddis, 52 cases, 23 recoveries. Camillus, 43 cases, 33 recoveries. Lysander, 30 cases, 26 recoveries. Pompey, 23 cases, 21 recoveries. Skaneateles, 15 cases, 14 recoveries. Van Buren, 15 cases, 4 recoveries. Marcellus, 6 cases, 4 recoveries. Atisco, 5 cases, 4 recoveries. Lafayette, 4 cases, 3 recoveries. Elbridge, 2 cases, 2 recoveries. Fabius, 2 cases, 2 recoveries. Spafford, 2 cases, 2 recoveries. And Tully, 2 cases, 2 recoveries. Again, looking at the other aspects of this virus, certainly we know that restart is critical to get our economy going, to help deal with some of the mental health challenges folks have had being on the sidelines, to help get people back to work. We understand that there's a high level of anxiety still with many. The way this restart is being done is data-driven and gives us time to monitor the public health implications. We feel very comfortable with the plan that's been rolled out by the state, with input from us, and we're very comfortable with our ability to participate in phase one now with the infrastructure we've built up over this period of time. Again, second sales tax payment hit yesterday. Since the reflecting the same time period of shutdown, we're now at negative 6.4% growth year over year. That's certainly not where we need to be, and that makes some of the actions going on in the federal government at this time very important. There's many bills right now that have support for state and local governments. We are large employers. These are our health departments that are fighting the fight. These are law enforcement individuals, police officers, public servants, and we need to be treated just like other large employers. Imagine if we didn't have a health department right now, where this would be. It would be absolute chaos if Dr. Gupta and her team wasn't doing what they're doing, working 7 days a week. So we need our partners in Washington, D.C. to recognize we didn't shut our economies down by ourselves. You told us to. Help us. A couple numbers, then we'll take questions. Upstate Triage Hotline, again, if you're symptomatic, screening. Right now, this is kind of moot. If you just want a test, you can go get a test, but certainly 315-464-3979 if you want to see if you have the symptoms that would merit a test, please call that. Seniors, healthcare workers, and nutrition hotline, 315-218-1987. That's it's a gap in services. If you're in a situation where you need help, you've never needed help, we've taken thousands of calls and helped thousands of people with meals, with groceries, with other types of odd things that happen now because of this virus. Child Care Solutions, this is our plan for essential employees that need child care help. Our program goes through the month of May. We'll assess where we go from there at the end of the month. 315-446-1220. We have child care slots if you run into child care gaps. Please call us. And again, an emerging challenge we have as we deal with this crisis is our mental health. And 211 is there for social, emotional support. Please, 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 if you're having a hard time, call 211. They will help you get the referrals and help you get the help that you need. Questions?
What does in terms of the timeline of reopening phases, if we were to get to phase 4, it would kind of be by the end of June. Are you hopeful for that, right before the July 4th, obviously, holiday?
Yeah, I think essentially the plan, and again, more meat's going to get put on the plan, is there's certainly not every business, if you look at it, can identify with one of the phases yet. We think more guidance is going to come out from the state health department related to essentially the healthcare medical field this week to give us some guidance on when your eye doctor can start seeing you again. I know there's a lot of other medical-based businesses that need to get going. And so, how do I know that? Because we get the emails from folks that are in pain that haven't been able to have certain procedures and things. So we think the phases are well thought out. We've had a lot of discussion with the state about all this. And so if the healthcare data goes and we continue to be able to track the virus in real time, and we get to the point where our cases are community spread contacts again, because we've dealt with all of the senior-related buildings, then I think hopefully we don't see spikes. We go from phase 1 to phase 2, and then phase 2 to phase 3, and then phase 4 essentially is we return to what the new normal will be, but part of that new normal will continue to be physical distancing and different things that are just going to be what life is like, and that's just, we'll be smarter because we've lived through the COVID-19 pandemic of 2019 and 20. So, I think overall, I want to get there under a 14-14-14-14 timeline, but The health data is going to drive that. And if we can get there, we want to get there as soon as we can. But if there's any sort of situations that arise where we have to slow down moving into another phase, the data is going to drive that.
The state has updated its numbers for Central New York's region, 670 tests administered of 775, and that's a 7-day average. If you average yourself, if your office averages 7 days, including Mondays, 1,064, what average for 7 days are you coming up with?
Well, we know that they've agreed to use this number. Okay, so that's the old way. They just told us they're agreeing with this. So
this is a 3 o'clock update, so maybe their computer is lagging.
Well, I just got a phone call. That's why we're at 3:30. So but you're right. The data is. So why do we go this way? Because if we have to wait for all this to get to that, it's going to 7-8 days because of the backlog of testing now. So this will eventually reflect right where you're looking at it. But what we're going to see tomorrow, Andrew, is not 1,000 tests. It will be somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 tests. And so depending on how much was done in nursing homes today, and we'll have a call at 5 where we'll have a better idea where that is. So if you just took the 3-day average, after 2 days we meet that, right? If you took the 2 days and then add in back the 5 other days in the region, I'm sure we meet it that way too. So, but what we're going to do is we got Monday, we're going to have Tuesday tomorrow, we're going to have Wednesday. We're going to show the public exactly where the testing numbers are, very clear in every location. And the state said that DOH is willing to take those certified when it comes to restart.
Do they waive the average in their agreement with you, or they're going to average the latest
No, you
numbers?
still need to average the same amount. So it's either 750, I think May would be 750. June's got 30 days, so June would go to 775 a day. So
but they'll take your 1,000-digit number and do averages with those current.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So just to be clear, is it a 3-day average or a 7-day? I mean,
I've seen it used both ways, Tim. Our 3-day average is going to be so high that it will qualify a 7-day. That's my point.
tomorrow you're going to have 2,000 to 4,000?
Correct. Today. We're testing 2,000 to 4,000 people today. So you could take, it doesn't matter what day average you do.
Who are all those people?
We are testing at the Triage Testing site. We are probably, it's been just rocking. We've worked out with many private sector companies that wanted their employees tested. We've gotten them tested. Certainly, hospitals are starting testing their employees in a regiment. Nursing home employees, remember we talked about this yesterday, there is an executive order that says nursing home employees need to get tested twice a week. That is 10,000 tests, okay? So that's got to start. We started today. So when you look at, it doesn't matter what average you do, 3 or 7, because even if you take our 3-day average, take those and divide it by 7 days, we'll still be over our 750 a day, because that's how many tests are being done in Onondaga County, Madison, Oswego, and just like us with nursing homes in Onondaga, in Oswego County, they started doing nursing homes today. Cayuga County has a site where they've been doing their emergency responders. They're doing at least 200 today. All these, Cortland County's starting to do their emergency responders and nursing homes. So all these other counties are falling under the same testing that they got to do related to first responders and nursing home employees. So they're going to be producing more tests than they ever have been. They haven't been producing lots of tests because they just haven't had many sick people. They haven't been impacted the same way we have. They're very more rural in nature and smaller communities.
On the phone call, did the state leaders recognize or apologize that their data's behind and that they're holding back Central New York just based on old numbers?
No, there's no reason to apologize for anything. Nobody's being held back. None of the other regions have started. They just hit a moment in time, green light, green light, green light. So there's no, we're all, this process, there's a lot more work that needs to be done besides what we've gotten through. We're in a crisis. We get to the point where we've stabilized the public health crisis. We're doing restart. There's going to have to be more phases where we're all working together. Then we're going to have to work on recovery together. And that's got to be the federal government, the state government, and the local government, working with our private sector partners. So there's no reason for apologies. There's a lag in the data. We've always been going off of, we're the only ones that know what we test every day. They don't know what we test every day. So that's what when we're saying we know what testing we're doing, that's because we're tracking this every 24 hours. So they reflect that. Our working group is getting the same information. They'll have this information again probably later tonight or first thing in the morning on what Tuesday looked like. And then that's getting to the state DOH, which gets to the governor's office. And we have a member from the governor's office on our group. So look, this is happening. We're getting there. I told you we had the testing scheduled. I wasn't lying last week. It was scheduled, and that's what's happening. And now tomorrow, we've had these things scheduled for a while, and we're adding more and more testing now to meet these mandates moving forward.
What kind of response have you seen at the Syracuse Community Health Center from quote-unquote normal people who have been eager to get a test?
Yeah, now it's out our window. You can see the community health center, and you can see the traffic backed up around the block, so much so that SPD had to go down and help with that all day. So there's going to be a big number tomorrow. I think we had 321. That's probably the biggest number they've produced in weeks, right? Because before we're just doing symptomatic testing. That number tomorrow will easily at least double.
What kind of calls and meetings do you have scheduled with that regional control room? Is it every day, twice a day?
Yeah, I think certainly every day till we get through phase one, and then we'll see how we go. Maybe go every other day after that. Because the next part about going into phase two, it's not about what phase two is. It's about watching and tracking the data. And so that's really Onondaga County, right? If you look at the healthcare data for our region, it's really us. So we then need to start seeing what's happening as more people are going to work. From a regulatory side, we'll probably be in a new phase where we're going to be getting lots of calls on questions and are these businesses operating the way they should be doing. So that we'll be busier with those types of calls, but I don't know if we'll be having a call every day at that point, but certainly leading up to phase one restart, we will be.
Are you still expecting more clarity for businesses as to what phase they're in tomorrow?
Yeah, I think I think the areas that are unclear right now are some of these doctors on the sidelines in the healthcare field, getting guidance there. That when you're looking at retail, if you sell a product retail, you're going to be allowed to do curbside, right? The other categories are pretty self-explanatory. The hair salons of the world can't cut hair yet. They sell products, they can sell products curbside. So these are things that there's going to end up being an online tool that businesses can go, essentially it's like a registration tool. You read what some of the guidelines will be, and then you attest that you have read them, and that's your registration. That will be available later in the week, is my understanding.
Is that a state tool or a
yes,
county tool?
Yes, a state tool.
And every business to open has to go through that process?
Correct. And then we'll be certainly fielding more and more calls related to answering questions, and then we certainly will be the regulatory arm behind this. So that will be new with the commercial aspect of this. Certainly, if there's a large physical gathering, I still don't have a police department, so that hasn't changed. But when it comes to the businesses, whether a business should be operating or if they're not operating correctly, that looks like that's going to fall under the county's regulatory authority.
How many inspectors are there who can police that?
I don't know. We're going to have to put the airplane together in the air on this one.
Are gyms a part of phase 4? Gyms.
I don't know if gyms are part of phase 4 or 3.
Okay.
Do you expect to partner with the sheriff to police that? Is that something
No.
you're looking at?
No.
It would be within the health department.
Yeah. Well, we're going to work on our own structure. We're not going to. Dr. Gupta is not going to be out there policing these things, right? She's got to do some other things that are a little more important, but
She'd
it's
be
a
good at it.
DOH. It's a D. She wouldn't. Yeah, like don't mess with her. It's a DOH-driven regulatory arm here. We're talking about regulations because of a health pandemic, but we're going to have to beef that up. Whether we're beefing it up with our own investigators, if we're asking Mr. Fitzpatrick for a little bit of help, those are things that we'll be working on.
And do you have the 300 tracers
Yes.
trained and in place?
Yeah, by the 15th, they're all right now doing a John Hopkins tracing course. But we will have 300 tracers ready to go. We won't need 300 tracers unless we have a real problem, but they will be there already in place in the health department, and then many across county government cross-trained. And we even have volunteers who have retired with this background that we're probably going to have take the course as well. So in the event they need help, or some of our other counties need help, they can use those volunteers as well.
Are
What
they
kind
all
of
current, are they all current employees at this point, or
Correct.
Did you didn't hire?
Current employees. We're still going to have a COVID-19 tracking team where we'll have for our own internal flow. We'll still probably be bringing some people on there or rearranging the deck, but the tracers themselves have been cross-trained from other departments.
What kind of departmental people are they? I know nurses have done a lot of it historically, but what other categories of employees?
Yeah,
are
so
included?
our adult long-term care department has folks that are being cross-trained. Again, they do tracing, right? We protect the community's vulnerable, our seniors, our children protective workers, protecting our community's vulnerable and our children. They do tracing all day long. Certainly, we've had folks in our social services, our probation department, my office, a couple people are going to take the training. So there's a lot of, around the county, we open this up to various departments, and then certainly we've gotten a tremendous amount of response from our workforce.
I know we're focused on, hitting the testing numbers, but can you expand on how you're also prioritizing actually finding out which pockets, of the community are actually being impacted by the virus?
Yeah, so that's a great question because that's the way we wanted to just do proactive testing. We know we've had to get out of our comfort zone a little bit by just opening up the testing floodgates a little bit, but we're still, our mobile testing units are essentially, when we go there, wherever we're going, it's because we need some either some demographic testing data, or we think there might be pockets in the neighborhood that might be hidden, so we can find those pockets. Still really driven based off of senior buildings where there's density. Why? Because we see what happens when our seniors get this. So until we go through and really get through all of our independent living facilities and our senior facilities, if we're somewhere else, it's because we think there's a reason for us to be there, whether it's we need more demographic data or we think that neighborhood there might be something going on.
Is Walmart more responsive with their testing results? I see you have a number there.
Yeah, actually, I think they got that to us pretty quick today. So I think just took an email or a text. I'm not sure which one, and got it pretty quick. So I think it was a text. So that was nice of them to get to us quickly.
Are you seeing social services data that would show some of the economic distress that has been caused
Yeah.
by the lockdown?
We are.
Food stamps, that kind of thing.
We are. The numbers were up 30%. I'll confirm to see tomorrow if that number's still where it is. But yeah, and we field a lot of the unemployment calls that they're calling desperate, looking for help. We're not the labor department. We can't help them. We try to refer them to the various individuals that can. But we field those calls daily, and certainly the anxiety, that's part of what this is now, right? There's still there's still companies that are hiring, and again, you can go to our economic development website on ongov.net, and we have that. Spectrum, I read that today, is hiring 125 people. Very good for Spectrum. Very happy about that. Tessie Plastics continues to be hiring and growing. And so part of getting over this is we got to get things going again. And you got the plan that's been laid out, we think is very responsible, where we can do it in a safe way, in a controlled way, but at the same time start to minimize these other effects of this with the economic damage. And that's what's driving a lot of the mental health right now, too. People are running out of money, and they got to get to work, or they got to get going again because they got nowhere to turn. So when there's nowhere to turn, they turn to us for temporary assistance.
Are you personally getting a lot of those emails, the anxiety and distress?
Yeah.
You've been concerned in the past that when we ramp up the number of tests, that they may get delayed at the labs. What kind of turnaround are you seeing now? Because if we only have 2 weeks to assess phase 1, if the tests get delayed a week, that doesn't give you much information.
So what we've done, Tim, is we're still concerned, but we've brought in new lab partners to help work with some of the nursing homes. The state health department is telling us that we can have some of the tests being done go to the Wadsworth lab. Normally they a lot of them deal with a local lab that is still going to work with some of these nursing homes, but they can't. There's no way they can do 10,000 a month or a week. 10,000. I'm sorry, a week, a month maybe. So the Wadsworth lab is kind of the gold standard for the state facility. So essentially, think of the nursing home process. One lab has 2 or 3 of them. Another one has 2 or 3 of them. Then everyone else has to, someone has to physically take all the tests and drive them to the Wadsworth lab every day. Now, the good news on that is the Wadsworth lab will probably have those processed within a 24-hour cycle, where the other labs might be a little bit more behind. But that's how we have to break this all up now, is you got to bring more labs in to deal with the new capacity. And there's more and more ones getting state certified that we've been working with. So we'll be introducing a couple of these new labs to work with some of the nursing homes, testing them out there. And then certainly, if they do well and have more capacity, we'll utilize them elsewhere.
Are these local labs, or are they?
No, I think these are more national labs that, certainly Quest has done a really nice job for us picking up capacity and test kits. There's other labs out there that we're going to be trying, and we've worked with Genetrics before, LabCorp, Lab Alliance of Central New York, Wadsworth. So they're all there right now with this aggressive testing schedule. There's enough business for all of them to eat and eat very well.
And how are the turnaround times right now?
Really solid right now. At some point, when you drop the type of numbers we're going to be dropping on them, we'll see. But right now, they received tests. We've already received tests we sent yesterday, results back on some of them. So still very, very solid turn times. But it will be, I'm cautiously optimistic we'll keep the 24, 36, 48-hour turn times at this point. But there's a lot of, we're not the only ones that have these testing requirements to hit now, right? Everybody does. And these labs they have sales reps in every region of the state. So we'll see how this plays out.
3 minutes ago, the Cortland County chairman released a press release saying, "I'm excited to announce that Cortland County businesses included in the Phase 1 Regional Start Plan will be eligible to resume operations this Friday." He's sounding like it's a done deal that Central New York meets qualifications for Friday. Are you in agreement with that?
I love Chairman Hyder. He's a great guy. And we got a couple days left to get through some numbers, and we'll get there. He knows we're going to hit our numbers. So he's very confident because we're going to hit our numbers.
So you're as confident?
That we're going to hit our numbers? Andrew, we're going to hit them by the end. I'm going to be here tomorrow, and I can show you how we hit our number.
But will the state agree with it?
They told me they would. He was on the same call. Maybe that's why he's so confident. He's a good guy, that Paul Hyder. He's a good guy.
The comptroller today announced the 30% drop in sales tax that I know you're well aware of for Onondaga County. According to his office, does that number match for
I
April?
mean, look at the state comptroller.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Yes, if you look at the payments, that's for two. We're not 30% down year over year. It's the last two payments, and I don't even know if we're really 30% down, but we're over 25% down.
It says sales tax collections during the month of April, 30% drop compared to April of 2019.
For Onondaga County. Yeah, he would have them. So that's built into our 6.4% year over year number. So we got the second payment yesterday, which was not a good payment. It was small though. So the next one's going to hurt too. It'll be a larger one that's going to hurt. And then it's a matter from that point moving forward, what we do, how we respond with the economy's restarting. And like we said, this was going to be at least three varies, very, very, very bad as we started. Maybe it's not four varies, we'll see. And then it's just moving your way up slowly from there. And hopefully by the end of the year, we get to just bad. But the unfunded mandate of shutting down our economy, which the two larger governments told us you have to do. So therefore, we need some federal help, and we need the state of New York to get a little bit of help. And we don't need any cuts passed on to us from the state as well. And if those things happen, we will manage our way through this crisis from a budgetary standpoint. And then we're just like we're managing a restart and how we'll be managing a recovery. And then it's going to be government's job to put forward policies that help the private sector get back on their legs and firm footing and start growing again. And that's about bringing people back, job retention, and job creation at some point.
How much does the AHL canceling the rest of their season and to this point no baseball games hurt the economy?
Yeah, I think what's really disappointing about that, Trish, is that those are really good mental health activities for the public. Economics, certainly ever since the Mets came into town, the community supported the Syracuse Mets better than they did the Chiefs over the last few years, so that's good. So hopefully we can salvage some sort of season there. Anytime you get people out spending money, we'll benefit from that with sales tax. But I think overall, we had a new ballpark, essentially improvements at the ballpark this year. We wanted to showcase them. We haven't been able to do that yet. So hopefully we can salvage something there. Certainly Howard and his team with the Crunch run just a class organization. They put on a good product every year. So we were in a playoff run, or close to it, I believe, when things got shut down. So overall, we got to hopefully get to the point where these things can happen. And to do that, we need time to learn more about the virus, time to see how the virus responds, see how technology responds. Very cool Eagle Hawk drone company talking about what they can do in arenas and stadiums related to aerial sprayings for COVID. So these are things that are going to happen, and the private sector is going to innovate, looking for solutions so that we can get our ways of life back.
You mentioned that there's been some interest in holding high school graduations at the ballpark or at the AMP. Is that a decision that'll have to wait to see how phase one goes before you can think about that, or is it possible to start?
Yeah, we're going to have conversations, but certainly we can't put together that many people if phase one doesn't go well. And even phase two to phase three needs to probably go well for us to, even if you do that in a controlled environment. And we can do that in a controlled environment at the stadium, right? It's pretty 7,000 seats outdoors around, very easy. If it rains, you can get people undercover to their cars quickly. Amphitheater a little bit more difficult with weather because you don't need everybody coming into the shed if you have a larger graduation. But two very good facilities to look at ways to honor our seniors. We're going to have conversations, talk about appetite with the districts about that. Certainly we'll have to figure out ways to, there's a cost to these things. These high schools pay a cost anyways, so, we're not looking to make money, but maybe offset the costs at least. But again, this is about getting our lives back a little bit, taking control of the situation. If we can do it safely, certainly we would want to do it.
So it sounds like we start phase 1 Friday, and I just wonder what your message is in terms of social distancing. I don't think anything changes in terms of the advice on wearing masks and staying 6 feet apart and not playing pickup basketball.
I think we're going to have to be better at it, quite frankly, than what we are now. If you think about it, we're going to have to be more cognizant of it. Overall, even someone in my position who part of what I do is engagement with the public, and I enjoy it a lot. Even when I see folks now that want to talk to me now, when I'm in public, you're a little bit cautious, right? So I think people need to continue to be cautious. 6 feet is pretty good information on that. That's been working pretty well for all of us. The mask, certainly that's going to be part of reopening for these businesses. And look at the guidance. If you're not going to take that seriously as a business, you're going to end up, being regulated. You end up being fined. So that's something that we have to, when we get together, as we're learning more about the virus, we have to even be better at it than we were before to keep the numbers going where we are, which is we've stabilized the numbers. The community spread numbers are really pretty solid numbers. And hopefully we're seeing kind of an end of these new cases in these senior-related facilities. And so that we're going to be in a really strong position going into restart. And then that will give us a good starting point on how to assess what restart's doing. But if we want to get to phase 2 as quick as possible, the best way to do it is to do well in phase 1, 6 feet apart, masks, try not to have that direct contact with individuals. We know this now. We're all smart. The community knows this. We just got to be really, really diligent. Any other questions? Okay. So during this process, we've been through a lot together, and the amount of for all of the cameras in the world, Camerons who send me nice love letters telling me to resign. There are many, many others who really do things that lift you up, and amazing shared sacrifice. And I just wanted to recognize Kathleen Cunningham from Liverpool. Kathleen donated her stimulus check that she received from the federal government, plus an additional $300 to county government to buy for us to use. And we talked to her, and we're using that $1,500 that she donated to us for PPE for our first responders and healthcare workers and nursing home workers. So here's an individual that I've never met and who had an opportunity to get a check and spend it the way they wanted, but Kathleen wanted to give back to her community, and so I just wanted to thank Kathleen for the amazing example you've set. And that PPE will go to make sure that people stop the spread of COVID-19. So thank you for that. And for everybody else, we will see you tomorrow, and be safe.